Hello and welcome to NetCube Marketplace. My name is Patty Hathaway. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I am here doing a vendor spotlight with a friend and a great vendor for us, and that is Mike Schwartzentruber. I'm not going to say that name three times in a row because it will probably not come out right. And Mike is with Hunter's Blend. He's a co-owner, and he's got a very unique story that I'm excited for him to share in terms of their brand, Hunter's Blend, as well as the products they offer. So I'm going to go ahead and let Mike tell you a little bit about that.
Thank you, Patty. Yeah, I'm, as she said, Mike Schwartzentruber, one of the co-owners of Hunter's Blend Coffee, along with two of my brothers-in-law, Paul Kurtz and Ken Beachy, and our wives. This all started close to 20 years ago. Paul was in a missions organization, and a lot of what they did was support a church work, and it ended up being in a lot of Central America, Southeast Asian countries. And it kind of became a revolving door. You really can't outgive poverty. And so he really wanted to have come up with an idea of helping the people help themselves. So a lot of these countries where he was working were coffee growing regions, and talked to them about, maybe setting aside some of their income for the church work. And they explained to him the way the whole coffee industry works. There's 5 to 6 middlemen between the grower, especially the smaller growers, and the buyers up here in the US. And those buyers and sellers will protect, obviously, where they buy the coffee from and where they sell it to. And so the farmers just kind of left with whatever's left over. And a lot of years, if they can just break even, they're happy. There's a lot of coffee farmers that are 4 or 5 years back in payments. They may never get out of debt. And so he thought, why not help these farmers sell direct to the US? Long story short, he became an importer. It's a lot easier said than done, but he became an importer and helped the farmer set up as an exporter and started buying direct. And that's what started the whole process. The first relationship was with Diego Chavarria in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
And pardon?
Go ahead.
Agreeing
with you.
So as he met with him, it was based out of the friendship through the missions program already. So there was a relationship of trust already established.
Right.
So he asked him, Diego, well, how good is your coffee? And Diego said, I have no idea. And what do you mean you don't have any idea? He said, well, Dad always taught us that anything that we can sell, we're buying all the coffee, growing all the coffee we can and sell everything.
Wow.
And they literally were going to town and buying some real cheap instant type coffee off the shelf for their daily drinking. It wasn't even good. So Paul said, well, let's check it out. So he had a little mini ability to roast a small batch of coffee with him, almost like a little hair dryer looking thing, and roasted it fresh, ground it. And next morning he did a little pour over for him and gave the first cup to Diego, and Diego took a sip, and tears just started rolling down his face. And wow. He had no idea how good his coffee was. And that's a powerful story. It hits me just to tell it, and I wasn't even there. But that started this whole relationship of buying, and it's very top shelf coffee. It's a high grade coffee, scores out around an 86. It's a specialty grade coffee, top 6% of coffee. And through that relationship, Diego was on the verge of losing his farm. So through the combination of this relationship with buying direct, because we can now pay Diego all those middleman cuts. And so he's making double or more what he used to make. Between that and a series of miracles, the farm was saved. He's been able to move 100 families from seasonal to full-time work. He's built a medical center and a school. He's had a hand in helping plant dozens, literally dozens. It's over 50 churches, little mini churches that he's helped plant because with this income. So his story is really amazing. Patty, I think you have a little video we can share of a little bit of Diego's story.
That's an amazing story. I mean, just, it makes me cry and I don't even know him. Right. All right, here we go.
This is the place where I was born. This is the place where I've been living for many years. And I think this is a place where I'm going to die.
The process of growing coffee and producing a cup of coffee is very complex. The farmer does at least 100 steps, but in the whole chain of custody of producing coffee to the cup, he's probably the most relegated to the shadows.
I broke down. My dream broke down. We had no money for food. We had no money to pay the workers. We had no money to keep running the farm. Nothing to do. That's it. It's over.
Diego went through a crisis, financial crisis, and he lost the farm. And in the middle of the crisis was when he learned to trust God and put his faith in God. And that was also the moment when he realized that we are here on earth for something bigger.
A farmer will sell coffee to a buyer, who sells to a buyer, who sells to a buyer. There's 6 different levels in most cases. Of course, every entity wants to make a little profit on that.
I don't think the Lord was telling me to come back to Nicaragua to be in this situation. So I said, Lord, I'm going to stay here. I don't know how we're going to do. Please, Lord, take control.
I thought, well, how could we go direct to the farmer? And that's very complicated to do. But with some eyes of faith and maybe stupidity, we attempted.
Wow, that is an incredible story.
The neat thing about buying direct and paying these farmers what the coffee's worth, and it's not a handout, it's not an overpayment, but it's just sitting down and making an agreement that works for both the farmer and for us. But the amazing thing about that is rather than handouts now, that money is being generated in the community. They've done studies how many times this money stays in the community. So, you know, now these farm workers have enough money to go to town, maybe buy some groceries. The grocer then takes some of his profit and buys some meat from the butcher. The butcher has money to go to the motorcycle shop and buy some tires. This money spins in that community over and over. Wealth is unlimited. It's God's idea.
Right.
And when we release the human creativity for what we were made to do, there's no end, there's no limit. So rather than developing a program of creating handouts, letting human ingenuity and creativity, the way our God-given design, letting it go, there's no limit. So, but so we offer several coffees. Our black powder roast is our dark roast. This is actually my favorite. It's what we drink at home every day.
Okay.
If you like a little extra flavor, we've got Java rum, which has some vanilla, caramel, and rum flavors added. Real light. It's not overpowering. We have a light roast we call Dawn's Early Light. And then, of course, we have a decaf. One real quick story on decaf. Usually roasters, for some reason, use the cheap coffee for decaf. You're not drinking decaf for the caffeine. The only thing left is flavor. Why are we putting crappy coffee in decaf? So we use the same top shelf coffee for our decaf. Most people can't tell the difference. It's very good.
Wow.
The original roast is where it all started. It's a medium roast, kind of a darker side of medium. The comment it's our top seller. The comment we hear from this is it's very smooth. Most people start out using a little creamer in their coffee because to cover up those kind of bitter notes. Even our dark roast, we stop short of that burnt bitter flavor. So this is still smooth, but the original roast is very smooth. And the comment we hear the most when we taste test this at shows or whatever, is people that are used to using creamer, they'll say, you know what, I use creamer in my coffee all the time, and I would not even need to use creamer with this coffee. It's so smooth.
Right.
So we did some real scientific research on the whole, the notes and all those things that happen when you add creamer to your coffee. It's pretty intensive. A lot of research went into it. Patty, we've got a video for that.
Okay. This is my favorite video. All right, start at the beginning because you want to hear it all.
After switching to 100 blend coffee, people often tell us, hey, I don't use coffee creamer anymore. Well, that comes as no surprise because coffee creamer is used to cover up the crummy taste of crappy coffee. And 100 blend is no crappy coffee. So people want to know, well, what do I do with all that leftover crappy coffee covering coffee creamer? Well, there's all kinds of practical uses for that leftover coffee creamer, but our favorite? We built this creamer cannon powered by a big old tank packed with 135 psi of compressed air. First, you want to fill the barrel with your cannon all the way to the top with that coffee creamer. Then, light a rub flare. Then give it the send-off we think it deserves.
Oh, that's a riot.
Yeah, our neighbors probably wonder what we're up to sometimes, I suppose.
Oops. Somehow I was going to stop there. Sorry about that. That would be the next one. We could go for that as well. All right.
One real quick thing on we call them single shots. The single serving K cups is kind of the generic term for that. Typically, anytime you pack coffee or roast coffee, it off gases for 7 to 10 days. That's why all our bags have this little one-way valve in them. And if you can see it,
yeah.
But as that pressure builds up, that's a one-way valve. It releases that pressure, so the bag doesn't explode, but it does not let oxygen back in. Oxygen is one of the enemies of fresh coffee. So that keeps our coffee fresh in the bags. Typically, in a little single cup, you have to let the coffee off gas for that 7 to 10 days before you pack it. That's another word for saying starting to go stale. And so we use a special lid design. It's got a little silicone O-ring that when it gets packed and closed, it keeps it airtight, but it has just enough give to it. When the gas expands in the cup, it'll let that gas relieve, again, not taking any oxygen back in. So you actually get a very fresh cup in a single cup type serving. And a lot of people will tell the difference because of how fresh it is. It is very fresh in the cup. We also have on our store site some of our USA mugs, which I really like. And if you're paying attention, we've got the Great Awakening on there. There are several layers of meaning behind that. And then we also have our USA made t-shirts. I like my coffee black and my tea in the harbor. Before the Revolutionary War, most everybody drank tea. We all came from England at that point, or from Europe and England. And at that point, everybody drank tea. But after the Boston Tea Party, that was considered unpatriotic, and that's when we kind of made the switch to coffee. And
I did not know that. That's a new twist on history I hadn't heard. That's super helpful.
There's actually a quote from John Adams on the back from a letter he wrote to his wife. He said, "Tea must be universally renounced. I must be weaned, and the sooner the better." So
did not know that.
Yeah.
One other quick testimony for you, Dan Wolfinger, who's the CEO. He right across the street, they have a cafe there, and the guy actually teaches people how to be coffee masters and so forth. And so he brought your coffee over there. He hadn't tried it yet. And he had the guy put through all the tests. I mean, it was like 5 or 6 tests. And he said and when Dan drank the coffee, he's like, I don't even need to use creamer, to your point. And the guy said, I think you scored an 87 on a 90 point scale, and he said, how much is he charging? He said he's way undercharging what he should, because this is truly a premium coffee. And he would be a competitor because Dan used to drink his coffee. Now he only drinks yours. So to your point, it's great coffee. So thank you very much, Mike, for being here. We really appreciate, love what you do, love the story behind it. And so go on the website and buy yourself some Hunter's Blend coffee, and we'll drink a toast to you there. All right. Thank you so much, Mike.